welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 currently inked pens for this week, and let me go over these pens. We'll briefly cover these one by one, and then we'll go into more detail, and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right, we have the Visconti Belgica, a Visconti Ecstasy Dowd, the Visconti Opera Master Golden Dust, the Visconti Brunelleschi, the Visconti Luxor Obelisk, the Visconti Templar Jacques de Molay, the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico, the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog, the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Swirl, and the Visconti Homo Sapiens Florentine Hills. So let's look at these in a little bit more detail. So this is the Belgica, and you'll see here it has quite a stunning motif on the pen here, and this is a gold vermeil overlay, and this is the Belgica, and this is the coat of arms effectively of Belgium, and this really was to signify Belgium coming of age, hence the name Belgica. And this is a Visconti with the bridge clip there. It has a finial, although this is not a My Pen finial. And in terms of the sort of design here, you have a number of different colours there of the Belgian flag, and also the lion crest here as well. So this is actually a PowerVac model, and you'll see here as well there is the number on the end of the finial there. If I can just get that the right way. There you go, number 29. And this, as I mentioned, it is a PowerVac filler, so it is a sort of a pen that is going to hold around 2.5 milliliters of ink. It also has an ink window, so it has a double reservoir. So it's a double reservoir power filler, so very similar to the Visconti Opera Masters, and also most of the Visconti Homo Sapiens that have an ink window in them. Now this comes with a very, very lovely 18 karat gold broad Visconti nib, and this is a Bock nib. And you don't see these Visconti gold nibs anymore. Visconti did switch to 23 karat palladium nibs. This writes very well, and I have this inked up with a blue ink, as you can probably see there. But this is a pen that I hold quite dearly in my collection for a number of reasons. One was because of the price that I got the pen for, and second because of the design. I do like these gold overlays or vermeils, and for me this pen is quite a stunning pen. So that's the Visconti Belgica. Then we have another gold vermeil overlay here, and this is the Visconti Ecstasy Dowd, and this really is a very favourite of mine. It's made of this black lucite material, and you may or may not be able to see on camera, but it has some gold dust in that black lucite, so it is quite nice. You might be able to see a little bit more here between that gold overlay. You'll see some gold dust sprinkled within. Now again, this is another special pen of mine, and I have this inked up. This is special because, again, the price I got it for. I got this for what was an insane deal, never to be repeated deal, but also because of just how nice this pen is. And again, I like these gold overlays. So it comes with a Visconti logo here on the cap finial. It's not a My Pen system. And then you'll notice it has this cage inside. So the idea is that you put some fluff or cotton inside there. And this, you would think, is a power vac filler, but it is not. And basically you have this cap here. And if you unscrew this metal cap, you can actually fill the pen with perfume. And you have this little dabbing device. So the idea is that you dab in and get some perfume or EDT, eau de toilette, and then you basically dab in here into the cotton and you scent your pen. Now clearly you're not going to do it like this because it's all going to run out, but you get the idea. It really is quite an interesting pen from that perspective. I still to date have never filled it up because I really am not one to do something like that, and I don't know over time if it might corrode. So I'd rather keep the pen as a writing instrument as much as possible. But it interests me a lot though. So of course, removing the cap, you'll see here that the pen size, it is a very good size. And I could post it if I wanted to, but it becomes a real wand. But as I mentioned though, it's not a power vac because this controls the perfume compartment. But it is an old push-pull piston. And so you push it in to expel the ink and pull it out to suck in the ink. And you'll also notice as well, so screw that back up, you'll notice that I have a 23 cat palladium medium nib on this pen. And this is a wet writer, and it's a very bouncy palladium nib. So again, this is another reason why I love writing with this pen, and why it's a favourite of mine. So I try to have that inked up as much as possible. Now, a pen that I've not had inked up a lot recently is this one, and this is the Visconti Opera Master, and this is the Golden Dust. And you'll see here that it's number 3 of 60. So this is a stunning pen. If I actually zoom in a bit, you'll see here this material really is amazing. And I never knew that this pen existed, and I just saw it on I think it was Fountain Pen Network or Fountain Pen Geeks, and maybe even been eBay. I can't actually quite remember, but I remember seeing it in a number of places, and I think it was eBay, and I think I jumped at the chance to buy this, and you can see why this material really is stunning. Very cloudy effect going on, smoky effect with gold dust in there as well that you can see. Beautiful Opera Master, and I do like these Opera Masters. So this is, as I said, an Opera Master, and you'll see here that this is a good size. You can post these caps, but I never want to because they are too long. You have an ink window there, and it is running a bit low, which I think I have. If I just, yeah, it is running a little bit low. I've just flooded the ink window, and that's put a little bit more ink into the double reservoir. Now, the nib in this pen is a 23 cat palladium nib, and it's a fine nib. But for me, this writes quite nicely. It did come with a different fine nib on it, and it was a little bit of a hard palladium nib. So I swapped it out for one of my other palladium nibs, and this one writes a little bit better. For me, anyway. But this is an absolutely gorgeous pen. So that's another pen that I have inked up this week. And then another pen that I haven't had inked up for a while now is the Visconti Brunelleschi. And I do like this pen, and I do love how it writes. It's a really nice pen. It's made of terracotta, and like the regular Homo sapiens lava, it will absorb material or sweat from your hands, as well as ink as well. So it is a little bit more susceptible to staining. But it's really smooth to the touch. It does have the Visconti My Pen finial. It is a power vac filler, and in terms of the size in my hand, it actually fits really nicely. And posting the cap is not too bad. You do also have this lovely key emblem here, and this is what you see on the Brunelleschi itself in the building, and it comes with a 23 cat palladium medium nib there, and that is a lovely nib. But you can see there a little bit where I mentioned about the staining around the very tip there of that terracotta resin mix. So you do have to be a little bit careful. I probably should have inked this up with a red ink, and that would have been less noticeable. But I felt from the outset that the ink that I have in here now is actually the ink that I wanted to permanently pair with that pen. I tried it and it wrote exquisitely well, and I decided that was the ink I was going to keep in it. So I always use that ink. And then we have this gorgeous pen, and this is the Visconti Luxor Obelisk. And this is such a beautiful pen. You can see here all of this macchie, and this is sort of transcribed from the Luxor Obelisk, which I believe is now in France. And you can see here the cap, and you even have the obelisk sort of clip there. It really is a beautiful, beautiful pen. Now, it does have a Visconti logo there. It's not a My Pen finial, so you cannot swap it out. It also is a power vac filler as well. So for me, this again is a really nice pen. It's a double reservoir as well. Now, I don't post this cap because it is an ebonite with macchie with a lacquer on top. And then the nib on here is a Visconti 23 cat palladium medium nib. But this again is a good writer. And I've not had this inked up much lately, so I'm glad that I've inked this one back up and I can write with it a bit more. And then we have this very large, which you've probably seen before, the Visconti, and this is a Templar edition, and this is the Jacques de Molay, and this is a stunning pen, and you can see here all of the chainmail that is going on here, the detail, the red crosses, even the emblems here. It's just a stunning, stunning pen, and it doesn't have a clip, and it is a long pen, so you can see there, and this cap will not post either, so but you don't need to. This is a long pen already, but the detail, the attention to detail on this pen is amazing. So you can see there that intricate work going on. Now, in terms of the nib, this is a 23 cat palladium, and it's a medium nib. And this actually did write a little dry, and I've actually made it write a lot wetter, a little bit smoother. The tines did come slightly misaligned, and I've been able to rectify that, and now it's actually one of my best writing pens. And sometimes you can get that with pens. It's not just Visconti. I know a lot of people have a go at Visconti for nibs being bad, and to be honest, out of around 70 Viscontis I've had, I've really only had probably 3 or 4 that have had bad nibs. And when I say bad nibs, I mean dry writing nibs. I've really not had, there's been no more than 6, so I think out of 70, I think that's a pretty good one. And then we have the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico, and this is a gorgeous pen made of solid silver and marble. It's a very substantial, weighty pen, heavier, strangely enough, than the Jacques de Molay. But this is a beautiful, beautiful pen, and you'll see here that the pen is actually a really good size, and the nib there is a 23 cat palladium medium nib, but that is a very, very nice nib, and it writes exquisitely well. So again, this is another one of my favourite Viscontis and favourite pens as well. And then again, another pen that I've not written with a lot lately, because I've had other pens to write with, is this Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. And you can see here, unfortunately, the swirl pattern isn't as pronounced when there is ink in the barrel of the pen. So it does get a little bit muted, but it's a beautiful, beautiful pen. So again, for me, this is a pen that I bought back in October 2016. And it is a favourite of mine. So it comes with the My Pen finials, and I've got some initials on there. It's a power vac filler. It's a double reservoir is power filler as well. So again, it holds around 2.5 milliliters of ink, and it's just the perfect size in my hand. The nib itself, there is a 23 cat palladium fine nib. And this was the nib that did come on the pen. I have a few times put a 23 cat palladium stub nib on there, but I've gone back to the fine nib. But this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous pen. So again, it's a pen I really love in my collection. And then I have the Homo Sapiens Bronze Swirl from Visconti. And again, when I saw this come out in 2018, I needed to get this pen, and I spoke to the managing director or general manager at Visconti, and he sent me this to review the pen, and I liked it so much that I bought the pen. And this really is a beautiful material, and I do like this, and I think the ink in here, the brown ink that I have, also matches with the colour of this pen completely. So this again is a Homo Sapiens. I can post the cap if I want to. I don't need to. Now it is a power vac filler, and it is a double reservoir power filler. So again, it holds around 2.5 milliliters of ink. And then the nib on here is the nib that I requested when I was reviewing this pen, and it's a 23 cat palladium medium nib, and I decided that wrote really nice, that I wanted to keep that nib. And I'd had a few other 23 cat palladium stub nibs as well. And then we have this Visconti Homo Sapiens, and this is the Florentine Hills. And the story behind this is that I bought the London Fog, and I didn't know if I was going to like it, and I probably was going to end up returning it. I bought that one day, and it arrived, and it was so nice. I then quickly ordered this one, and this arrived the following day after that. And I really love this pen. It's a lovely green swirl pattern for the Florentine Hills. Again, because of the swirls in here, the ink kinds of sort of mutes the swirls a little bit, but it is a gorgeous pen, and I do like this. It does have, and this is what happened a lot on some Viscontis, is that sometimes the enamel can flake off there on the Visconti name on the clip. It doesn't bother me. I probably could send it in and get that repaired or replaced, but to be honest, I'm not happy with it how it is. In terms of the size, again, all these Homo Sapiens have the hook safe lock. This is the size in my hand, and I can post the cap if I want to, but I don't. It's a power vac double reservoir, holds 2.5 milliliters of ink, and it has a 23 cat palladium medium nib there. And again, this writes very, very well. Very wet, and it's quite a bouncy nib as well. So that's the 10 pens that I have currently inked at the moment. So I think let's go and do a writing sample now. So we have this lovely Visconti. So I'll do an ink swatch first. And you can see just how wet this nib is and why I like this nib so much. So this is the Visconti Belgica, and it is a broad 18 karat gold nib, and the ink in here is Ackerman Dutch Masters, and it is Cerulean Bleu. Ooh, it's a bit of a U there. But that is a very wet writing nib, and it's a pen that I like a lot. And then we have this next pen, and all of these are Viscontis that I have inked up this week. And again, this is a very, very wet writing pen. So it is a Visconti, and it is the Ecstasy, and it's the Dowd, and it's a 23 karat palladium nib. It's a medium nib. So medium 23 karat palladium. And then the ink in here is an ink that I always have inked up, and this is Diamine Majestic Purple. I probably should put another ink in here, but it's just an ink that I like a lot, and I tend to have inked up in here. It's just an ink that I find works really, really well. And then we have this, again, another Visconti, because they're all Viscontis. And this is a much finer nib, you can see here, but still it's actually quite a wet writer, but it's just a fine nib. So it's a Visconti Opera Master Golden Dust, and it is a fine nib, and it is a 23 karat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku Sakushi, which is basically horse's tail. At least that's how I understand the translation. And then we have this Visconti, and I love this ink. And strange enough, this is an ink that I have not inked up in, I think, any other pen. Actually, no, I've had this in a couple of pens, actually, but it's just an ink that I don't use outside of these two pens. So this is a Visconti Brunelleschi, and it is a medium 23 karat palladium nib, and the ink is Aurora and Klingner, and it is old Bordeaux. I don't know why Bordeaux starts with an O, but that's what my brain started to do. And then we have this beautiful, stunning Visconti. And I always have this inked up with a blue ink. Sometimes I go with a Waterman ink, sometimes I go with a Pilot ink, Pilot Wash Shizuku. I think I've even actually had a Pelican Edelstein Topaz in here at one point as well. So this is the Visconti Luxor Obelisk, also known as the Luxor 88, because there's only 88 of these made. And it is a medium 23 karat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. And this is one of my favourite blue inks. And I've not been using that ink a lot lately, so I wanted to ink it up and use that ink. And then we have this stunning Visconti Templar. So this, I'll do an ink swatch. This is the Visconti, and it's the Jacques de Molay. And it is a medium, and it's a 23 karat palladium nib. You can see I like these 23 karat palladium nibs because I've got a lot of them. And then the ink in here is a fitting ink, is Diamine Earl Grey, and again that's one of my favourite inks in terms of grey inks. I have thought about putting another grey ink in there like Pilot Iroshizuku Kirisami, but I think the Earl reference in the Earl Grey to that pen, the Templar, I just think it's noble people, and I think it would be silly not to put that in there. So for me, that is an ink that I actually keep in there a lot. And then we have this pen, and again, gorgeous, gorgeous pen, very heavy pen. So do an ink swatch on this one. Now this is a finer nib, but it's still quite wet. And this was a nib that I did actually modify myself slightly just to frost the tines and increase the ink flow on it. But you'll see that it is quite wet. It was more of a dry writer when I got this nib. So this is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico, and it is a medium 23 karat palladium nib, and the ink in here is the ink that comes with it, and it's Visconti Bordeaux, and it's a lovely red ink, and I've just not been able to bring myself to put another ink in there. It's just an ink that I really do like a lot. And then we have this lovely, lovely Visconti London Fog. Now, this again does have a finer nib in it, but as you can see there, it's a very, very wet nib. So this is a nib that I do like a lot. So it's a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog in a medium. As you know, it's a fine nib, not a medium nib. And it's a 23 karat palladium nib. And the ink that I have in here at the moment is Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. And you can see the difference here between these two inks. You've got this ink here in the Luxor Obelisk, which is a lot lighter blue than this one here in the London Fog. So you can kind of see the difference. It is quite interesting how inks will shade in colour differently between nibs or pens. And then we have this one, and this is the Visconti, and again another Homo sapiens. And you can see here, this is a super wet pen, and you see why I decided to buy this in the end. That was after reviewing it, because this is a beautiful pen. So this is a Visconti Homo sapiens, and it's the bronze swirl, and it is a 1.3mm stub, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink I have in here is Robert Oster, and it's Cafe Crema, and it's a beautiful ink, and I think that that ink matches the pen quite nicely there. And then the final pen I have here is again another Visconti Homo sapiens, and this was my second higher end Visconti. And although this is a sort of narrower nib, it's still quite a wet nib. So this is the Visconti Homo sapiens, and it's the Florentine Hills, and it is a medium, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Visconti green. But you can see that's still quite a wet ink, and not only the ink but a wet writing nib as well. So I think let's just go through this one more time. We have the Visconti Belgica with an 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Akerman Dutch Masters Cerulean Blur. We have a Visconti Ecstasy Dowd with a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Diamine Majestic Purple. We have a Visconti Opera Master Golden Dust with a fine 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Sakushi. We have a Visconti Brunelleschi with a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Rora and Klingner Alt Bordeaux. We have a Visconti Luxor Obelisk with a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. We have a Visconti Jacques de Molay in a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. And then we have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico with a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Visconti Bordeaux. A Visconti Homo sapiens London Fog with a fine 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. A Visconti Homo sapiens Bronze Swirl with a 1.3mm stub 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Robert Oster Cafe Crema, and that ink is still wet. And then we have a Visconti Homo sapiens Florentine Hills in a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Visconti green, and that is still wet as well, but not quite as wet as this stub nib. So there you have it. That's the currently inked for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.